Hey YouTube, it's Adrian. Just before we get you to this video, do me a favor and head over to pageantlaunch.com. We are starting the world's first dedicated pageant review site, and I would love for you to join our launch team. All you need to do is put in your email address. It's completely free. We are looking to make a pageant industry that is safe, transparent, and fair. I know it's like that most of the time, but over the last year, it's become very evident that it's not like that all of the time. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, put in your email address, and let's get you to this video.
I am Lauri Knowler. I'm a current Miss Earth UK finalist, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are tuning in from. Special guest for today is Lauri Knowler, who is a Miss Earth UK 2020 finalist. Lauri, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. 2020 is turning out to be an absolutely crazy year. I've said many times, I said I wish it would be different, when you're making New Year's resolutions. And then 2020, it's certainly been different. How has 2020 been for you so far?
Well, I was one of those people who actually posted on Facebook that 2020 was going to be my year. So that was a massive smack in the face so far, but
It hasn't been your year?
No, not as much as what I thought it would be. But I'm trying to power through it. Keep positive.
It's certainly a struggle at times. Lauri, why don't we start with the easy question? We'll start with your pageant history. So obviously you're lined up to have a run at Miss Earth UK. Actually, maybe why don't we start with what's happening with Miss Earth UK 2020? Because I can't keep up anymore. I don't know with the domestic and the international, what's going on, what's been postponed. So why don't we just say what's happening with Miss Earth UK first, and maybe the international as well, if you know that.
Okay, well, what I know with Miss Earth England is that it has been postponed again. So it was going to be on the pageant weekender when we last spoke. It was also going to be the same time as Lauren competing in Miss Wales. But due to corona measures here, it's now been postponed to the end of September, which is when you would usually fly out to do internationals, and you spend the month of October in the Philippines, and then the final would be at the end of November, mid to the end of November. Now, what's happened internationally is that Miss Earth is still going ahead. However, it is going to be virtual because the Philippines did their pageant virtually, and it was really, really successful. As far as I'm aware, some of it was pre-recorded and then some of it was live, so it was a mix. And then that's what they're planning to do, and they're keeping the date of the 30th November. So it is going to be a tight squeeze if I do win the title in terms of preparation for international, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm finally going to get there, hopefully.
Right. Okay. So end of September for the UK final, and then November for the international final, which will be virtual. The UK final, is that going to be virtual as well?
No, it's not. No. We are going to stay in the same venue that we were going to be in and what we have been in for the past couple of years. But social distancing measures will be in place. So nobody will be allowed into the venue without a face covering. Also, we'll try and keep that social distance in terms of seating arrangement. But yeah, that's what I know so far.
Okay. Are you going to have to be wearing a mask for the I asked because, for example, as I told you, the state to our South Victoria, it's now mandatory to wear face masks in public. So I guess the venue is public. Will you guys have to wear face masks? Because that might be a first.
Well, I may have to start coordinating my face masks with my outfit, because I actually hadn't thought of that, because that's now part of the law here as well, that you have to wear a face mask in public if you go into shops. But it gets a bit funny when you go to pubs and bars and all that.
This could be interesting, you see, because there's all
Hmm.
back when Corona started, I had this, someone joked with me, a friend of mine joked, oh, maybe face masks will become a fashion accessory. This was when we thought Corona was a joke, it was just in China, then obviously it's become
Mm,
what it's become. And I said,
mm.
no, don't be stupid. So now maybe you do have to, you don't just plan your gown and you plan this and that, you have to actually maybe plan a matching
I have to
face
plan a
mask,
face covering, but I
and you
think
can make it an eco-friendly one.
oh yes, I will make my own just to give it that little bit of pizzazz on the side. But I do know that the Philippines, I think they did have face masks incorporated in their outfits, so maybe I should have seen that coming as well.
I think it might be quite clever, actually, just
Yeah,
because it is obviously during Corona. Even if you don't have to, it might actually be make you more memorable in a good way.
yeah, it'll
If
be
you
a
wear a
legendary
face
year.
mask,
Mm.
uh, maybe 2020 will be your year after all. Now, we've got a couple of comments here. Kerem, sorry if I've mispronounced it. Kerem Hussein has said hi.
Okay.
And Zani, you're going to have to tell me where you're from, because every time there's a Miss Earth, I'm interviewing someone in Miss Earth, you're tuning in. So I'm assuming you're a Miss Earth person. Let me know where you're from. But hello, Zani.
Hmm.
Okay. So, Laurie, your
Yeah.
pageant history,
Um,
how long is it? What is it? Why did you enter this crazy world, and how did you end up in the position you are now?
wow, we're going to go back about 8 years. I've been
I'll just leave you here and you can talk by yourself for
yeah,
10 minutes.
that's fine. I'll monologue. I'll monologue.
Go for it.
um, so I started in 2018. I was actually scouted by Miss England Scouts um, at a massive fashion event. It's called the Clothes Show Live. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's just where loads of fashion brands come together, and it's a big sort of like fashion expo and
Hmm.
catwalk, and it's where a lot of people go to promote their brand. And I was stopped by a woman who was Miss Birmingham at the time, because it was held in Birmingham. And she said, oh, I think you have potential. And I had just had the worst makeup done. Like, my eyes were black, my hair was like spiky. I was about 16, 17 years old, going through like this gothic emo phase. And I genuinely couldn't believe that she had picked me. And I thought, no, she's never going to contact me, but I'll fill out the form anyway, get my pitch
Sure.
taken. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from Miss England saying we'd like to see you in the Miss Hertfordshire finals. And I've never looked back since. I've pageant hopped quite a bit, because I've tried to find my system,
Of
basically,
course, yeah.
because because you find the one that's right for you, because there are so many out there.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Miss Great Britain as a home for a few years. I'm still with Miss Great Britain, but I'm on the team and the backstage side, because
Oh, wow. Okay.
once again, I found out that I probably wouldn't be Miss Great Britain. I don't really fit the criteria. But I really wanted to stay involved, and I moved to one of Holly's pageants. It was Power Pageant when I competed in 2018.
Mm.
And once again, I thought, okay, this might not be for me. And it was actually Danielle Latimer who turned to me and said, have you tried Earth?
Mm.
And I hadn't. And that's where I found my niche. And it's how I live my life. I'm vegan and I care about the environment. And Danielle said, look, you are missing a trick. Go to Earth. And then that was history. So there you go. That's it in a nutshell.
I think I can see Melvin has tuned in as well. He's from Manila, Philippines. So for Zani and Melvin, and those of you who aren't from the UK, so the system Holly that Laurie is referring to is Holly Perry, and at that time she was running. What was she running? Galaxy, obviously. She has a few
Yes.
UK exclusives like Teen, Pageant Girl,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Teen Great Britain, and at that time
Mm-hmm.
she also had Grand.
Yeah.
So just to fill you guys in on that, I feel like Danielle should be getting what do you call commissions? Daniel has said hello. Daniel, I think you should be getting commissions from Miss Earth. I mean, you put Laurie onto them. She also put Marissa Butler onto Miss
She did.
Earth.
Yeah,
So
that's how me and Marissa met, was through Danielle at Miss Great Britain. It's phenomenal, the
God.
connections that lady has. But
Danielle,
with Danielle yesterday, yeah, we were having a good old catch up.
oh, I feel like I'm missing out because you guys in the UK are actually able to like gather now, and it's because it's different in the UK. You guys are at a different stage. It's kind of the winding back, and hopefully you don't get the second wave.
Yes.
Where we've wound back, and now we're getting a second wave, and we're all now having to hide back in our homes again and go, oh my God, not again. So I feel like I'm missing out here. Elizabeth Coulthard has said, hey.
Hello.
And Danielle is, as you can see here, Lauri, sorry I'm late to the party. She's always fashionably late. And you look gorgeous, my green goddess. I'm assuming green because you're eco-friendly,
Yes.
not because you're wearing any green that I can see.
No, I'm sorry, but I am wearing the top that she picked out for me yesterday. So maybe that's why.
This interview is going to give Danielle a big head. So she was your stylist as well, was she?
Oh, she's literally everything to me. When I first met her, it was actually through Facebook, because she went to compete in Miss Great Britain and I had already competed and I knew the system. And I friend requested her on Facebook because I was majorly fangirling over her when she was at internationals in Grand. So when we started chatting, my palms started sweating and I thought, I can't believe I'm talking to Danielle. And then it grew from there. She's yes. Yes.
No.
She's been my mentor for years, and I literally owe my pageant career to her. She's given me a good few verbal slaps over the years. Rather,
I can believe that.
Yeah, you know, when she's literally picked me up off the floor when I've been crying, saying I'm going to give up, I don't want to do this anymore, and she says, no, you've got to get up and you've got to go back again. And literally I owe everything to her. So yeah, my heart goes out to her.
I feel like you've just done an acceptance speech for the Oscars or something, except there's only one person that you need to thank. If she didn't have a big head before this, she has one now.
She's the director, she's the producer, she's everything.
Well, here you go. As someone who's fangirling over her, she said that she loves you. So I don't know that. Maybe 2020 is your year. You got Danielle to say that she loves you. So well done on that.
Well, yes. Now it's my year.
And Zanny here has said, say hello to Lauri. I am from Malaysia and friends of some of the actual Miss Earth contestants. Wonderful. Now, what was I, before we got sidetracked with Danielle, I was going to ask, aside from pageantry, what else sort of keeps you busy? So what do you do during the day? Hobbies? What do you do basically when you're not in the insanity of pageant mode?
Well, I'm a primary school teacher by day, and I look after little ones. At the moment, I'm on summer holidays, so I'm trying to fill my days. Nice. And apart from that, my hobbies, my goodness me, I do a lot of, I wanted to say I do a lot of gardening, but it's mostly me helping my mother out, just passing her the plants and she plants them. But
well, that counts.
it counts.
I guess.
It counts. And it's green.
Yeah. Gardening by proxy.
Exactly. She's the major green fingers of the family. I can't take any credit, but passing her the plants I can take credit for. So I do a lot of theatre work, and I take part in Greenpeace, lobbying. What else do? I do a lot in terms of, I do a lot of animal conservation as well. So I live not too far from one of the biggest zoos in the country, which is Whipsnade. So I go over there when I can. Yeah, literally, it sounds like a gimmick where I'm saying everything Earth related, but it's not. This is actually my life, and it's almost, if you pardon the pun, second nature to me to do these things. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Apart from Netflix, that's been my life recently. But you know, I can get.
If we run out of anything meaningful to talk about, we'll circle back to Netflix.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of teaching, I mean, you mentioned the teaching. Why did you get into teaching? Because I've worked a lot with young kids. As a tennis coach, the youngest was sort of 4 or 5, all the way up to
Oh,
I've coached adults. But working with kids takes a special kind of person. Person needs a lot of patience. So why did you get into teaching kids? Because it's not the most financially rewarding, and it's not as easy as some people might think.
no. Well, I actually started by working in a museum because I live in what is known as Roald Dahl County.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So his
Quite a famous
cottage,
author.
yes. So I worked for his family. I worked for the Roald Dahl
Oh,
Museum. Yeah.
that's
um,
cool.
yeah. So I worked in a museum for hosting children's parties. And my boss at the time said, have you ever thought of actually going into our education program? Because you know a
Hmm.
lot about Roald Dahl, you've got a lot of enthusiasm. But unfortunately, I was in my last year of university, so I had to go back to Leicester. But it always pondered on my mind of what I was going to do after university. But I put that to the side because I was headhunted by a finance group, and I went into London, did the London job, did the London commute, and I felt like
Yeah.
something was missing. So, and when I went back to the museum to work freelance, when I left the job in London, they said, have you still thought about education? Have you still gone forward with that? And I thought, right, that's what was missing. So I went into teacher training and yeah, became a teacher.
Well, you've really worked both sides of the spectrum then. I mean, you said something was missing. I think it might have been humanity. Working in the finance sector in London and then going to work with kids in a smaller setting. You've really had both of the best of or the worst of both worlds,
Oh,
haven't you?
oh goodness. Yeah, working in the finance industry was just, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it as a blank space. We'll just leave people to fill in the blanks for themselves because it was just something else. And I just, you know, when you just walk into a room and you think this is not my crowd. I think I need to be somewhere more meaningful.
I think it takes a very particular sort of person to work in finance and enjoy it. Obviously, it's much more competitive than, let's say, the teacher setting, and there's a different kind of pressure. I mean, in teaching, you have the livelihoods, the futures of the children in your hands. It's not a light responsibility, but depending on finances, like you could be responsible for a lot of money,
Oh.
and especially at the moment, it's not an area I'd like to work in. So, teaching. How long have you been teaching for, Laura?
Not long, only a year really. But I was originally
Okay.
turned down for teacher training because they said you're coming from a corporate setting, so we know that your behaviour management will be spectacular, but the children will be terrified of you. So I managed to
You don't
get
strike me as terrifying. Am I missing something here?
well, I didn't think so, but they said coming from a corporate setting, you're not that it's a very different path.
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so they said maybe you should get some experience first and actually see whether or not this is for you. So I did a teaching. I took on a teaching assistance role
Oh
for
wow,
a
okay.
year, and when I went back, they were actually really surprised. The teacher training board were very surprised when I came back. They said, "Oh, we thought that you were going to hate it, but we loved the resilience that you had and the humility of coming back and reapplying." So that's what I did. And I said, yeah, well, I did really want to do it, but you know,
Mm.
I appreciate your advice because you guys are the experts here. So I had two options. I could either stomp my feet and go and do something else, or I could take the
Yeah.
advice and carry on. So I am where I am.
It's interesting when you say that. I've had some positive and negative experience with teachers, both as a student and then working with them. When I was working as a tennis coach, I was working at a high school and met some very interesting characters on the teaching side, let's just say. But see, where they said that because of your background, they thought maybe you weren't suitable or didn't have the temperament. I actually think the best teachers that I've known in life have had that outside real world experience, and they've brought that to the teaching setting or the school setting. I mean, have you noticed that at all for yourself? The fact that you've gone out and done something different before coming to teaching actually gives you a different perspective on things?
Yes, because I know what they're potentially going into. Even though they're very little, you can see their temperaments already and their personalities. And I just think, yes, you're definitely going to be in the city in about 20 years' time. But I think it was also really good in terms of my own personal development that I went out to the big city, because I'm from the countryside. So I went out into the big city, actually experienced what life was actually like before I settled back to home. So yeah, I think that I had a lot of personal growth from going into London, having that experience, and then coming back. Yeah.
How old are the kids that you're working with again?
They're 10, so they're not little, but they're not big enough yet to be too sassy.
Probably around my favorite age to work with. It's when they're old enough to actually have a conversation, but they're still too young to not have the 15 for me was the worst age to work with, because at that age they knew everything, they wouldn't listen to anything, and you just pray that they survive to 16 basically. I don't know if it's the same in the UK. It seemed to always be getting younger and younger. The kids would sort of be saying adult things younger and younger. I'm sure that's still continued.
Oh, it's a thing. Like, I'll have some children come in and say, "Oh, Miss Knowler, did you watch Stranger Things?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." Hang on, you're 10. You're way too young to know what Stranger Things is. But they do seem to know it because it's just so available to them. And yeah.
I guess everyone's locked inside as well, so everyone's watching everything. You mentioned that you like to sort of, and I did this a lot, is sort of, okay, point at a student and go, okay, you're most likely to be this, you're most likely to be that. What sort of roles do you identify? I mean, one of the ones that I identify is most likely to go to jail. That'll be you over there. Is it too early at 10 to be doing that? Like,
well,
I'm right. I haven't done research to back it up. I would actually, maybe I should do that and find out the one that I thought was likely to end up in jail is in jail.
Do a where are they now?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I definitely go with, okay, you're going to be in a leadership role, because you can see the children who just take control of a group, and I can see the children who are definitely more creative, and I'm like, yes, you're going to be an artist or an architect because of the way your mind works, and the creativity in terms of writing as well. I think, oh yes, you're definitely going to be a journalist because you seek out a story like nobody's business. So it's I haven't picked out one that I think that will definitely go to jail yet. I'll keep my eye out though.
Well, there's an old story, if you read Richard Branson's autobiography, his teacher famously told him, you're either going to end up as a millionaire or in jail. And actually he spent I don't think he was in jail, but he had a year, basically he had stolen money.
The grid.
And the judge told him, you have this long to pay it back, otherwise you are going to jail. So he was that close, and then obviously he's become a billionaire. But that's why I ask, because when you work with kids, the thing I do love is that there is no filter, and you get to see them really grow up in front of your eyes. I mean, if you only have them for a year, let's say, but the year from 9 to 10, there's a lot that changes in a child's life, different to like 30 to 31 or 50 to 51. So interesting. I really should look up whether that person I thought was going to end up in jail. The joke that I have is most of those people that I thought were maybe not the most law-abiding citizens, do you know what career a lot of them went into?
Law or policing.
Not quite. Policing.
Yeah.
And there was a friend of mine who's the loveliest girl, nicest girl, would never harm a fly. She recently applied to be in the police, and they turned her down because of the psychometric test.
Oh.
And they won't tell you why either, because then you can game the system. But she's so lovely, but they turned her down for policing. And I just went, that's interesting. Because the people I know who went into police, I'm like, you? Okay. Literally, it's like, you? Really? police? Like, are you joking? You're not. Oh, okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I went in for the police, actually, for Thames Valley Police.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
I passed they do sort of little scenarios, so they have actors in different rooms, and you have to be the police officer in that scenario. And there was one scenario that just it really got me, and it was a really serious storyline, and I thought, right, that's it, I've done it, I've failed it. Like that was horrendous, because they don't give you any leeway whatsoever. But I did end up passing. However, I failed on something else. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I attempted the police but didn't quite get in. So it takes a lot. It's really difficult.
It does. When you say role playing, I'm assuming that you didn't have to pretend to shoot like a robber or something, did you?
No.
Or whack someone over the head with a baton. No, because that sounded really exciting.
No, you have to pretend that you're interviewing them as if it's almost an interrogation. So you've brought a suspect in, and this is what you're going to interview. This is the scenario that you're going to interview them on. And they were quite far out, and some of them are like some of them were petty crimes, and then one was just really far out, and that was the one that I thought that I couldn't deal with. But yeah, I managed to get that, but it was a paper-based thing that I didn't get through on.
Right. Okay. I probably shouldn't do that then, because I've watched way too much of I don't know if you know. Speaking of Netflix, the series Blacklist is on Netflix. It's like the worst of the worst, and there's a lot of interrogation scenes, and I think I've watched too many of those that I might get a bit carried away in an interrogation scene.
In their eyes.
Yeah, it'd just be bad cop, not bad cop, good cop. Now, Danielle, going a while back, has said that her head is swelling like a balloon, apparently. So.
Oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Are you okay, Danny? Are you okay?
Oh, she's good. She just, all the compliments you gave her have given her a gigantic head. Now, Zanny here has asked, how is the current situation of corona? Probably that means country, not county. But what is the corona situation in the UK at the moment, Laura?
So at the moment, it has just been announced that some Spanish holidays, because some people were allowed to go on holiday to certain countries like Spain, and you didn't have to quarantine after. Unfortunately, that has been reversed, and that's been the most recent news, that anybody who's coming back from Spain now has to quarantine for 14 days. We have progressed in terms of pubs, restaurants are open, but they have shields, and you're encouraged to go into the pub garden. You can't sit in a restaurant unless you've pre-booked. Also, you have to wear a face mask in any enclosed space. So if I was to go into IKEA, like I did earlier, I would have to wear a face mask whilst I was going around. But whilst you're outdoors, you don't have to wear one. That's the current situation at the moment. I think the last time we spoke, Leicester was just going into lockdown. So we do have, I think Leicester is still in their own mini lockdown, and there are discussions of other places potentially, but that's the latest.
Okay. Are the numbers more or less stable, or are they declining, or are they going back up?
They're at a steady rate. They're still announcing roughly 60 to 150 deaths. It depends. It varies from day to day. New cases are, that I read somewhere yesterday that it was at 64,000 new cases. But I don't know what the current numbers are at the moment. But that was from a couple of days ago.
Doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. As I mentioned, Australia is probably going through a second wave. UK sounds like it's holding steady, and the US is just it's a whole other story.
Far out.
Well, I didn't used to watch the news, but I've started doing it just because I feel like I should stay informed as to what's going on in the world, because there's so much happening in the world. And there was a news article, I think, that was titled "How the US is Destroying Itself," or how the US is tearing itself apart, and it's really sad to watch. because I really, depending on what you look at, it really does look like that's happening, which is
Yes.
it's horrible. Now, here's an interesting comment. Rachel Heslop has said, a boy I went to school with was presented with the award of most likely to go to prison award at prom. It's a joke award.
Yeah.
He is actually now serving a long stint in prison.
Well,
I don't know if I should laugh at that.
I was voted most likely to be on Jeremy Kyle or any sort of daytime TV show like that. That hasn't happened as of yet. And Jeremy Kyle has actually been cancelled here. So
that's never happening then.
No. So it doesn't always happen, but that's oh God, Rachel.
What is, you'll have to tell, I don't know what Jeremy Kyle is. What sort of talk show is Jeremy Kyle?
It's like it's like the British version of like Maury or Jerry Springer, but without so much fighting. I used to watch it a lot when I was younger.
Jerry. All I remember on Jerry Springer, you'd watch it just because the crowd would be chanting Jerry whilst there were two people going at it on stage with these massive bodyguards holding them back. You never knew what they were talking about. And you'd see like the subtitles underneath is, I married my second cousin and now she wants to divorce me for a dog or something. I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
Goodness. Personally, I prefer Dr. Phil. That's my guilty pleasure.
Phil. And how does it make you feel? Why did they think that you would end up on like a Jerry Springer show? That's quite worrying.
I actually don't know, because I was actually quite quiet at that school. I don't know. Maybe it was because I did A-level drama. I don't know. Honestly.
Well, they always do say as teachers. I don't know if you guys have the same thing. It's like you always have to watch the quiet ones. They do say that.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Yeah, they probably should. I think they are now, because I've had so many messages from people at school who said, I had no idea who you were at school, but ever since you've become more public with pageants, I remember you. And yeah, it's really odd how they said, oh, I never saw you in pageants and now you're doing it. So yeah, that was a really odd comment that I got a couple of years ago, actually.
It's interesting. I think on that topic, I mean, how would you say, so as you said, you were quieter in school. How would you say that your pageant journey has maybe changed who you are or how you've developed during your pageant journey?
Oh, because I was so unsure of who I was back in school, I was just trying desperately to fit in, because I actually went to 4 different high schools. So I was the new kid quite a lot, and I kept myself to myself. And with the pageants, I didn't realise how important they were until I put more effort in and I got more out of it. And yes, I've become much more sort of outspoken, and I'm very aware of what my strengths and my weaknesses are, and my public speaking has gone through the roof, because I never would have done it. Never would have done it in the environment in the last school that I was in. But with that, I don't think anything of going on stage now. Anybody who witnessed my speech at Miss Earth England last year would know that I almost incited a riot.
What did you do?
So
maybe you should be on Jerry Springer. That's exactly what happens on Jerry Springer. The crowd erupts into a riot.
I'm not helping my case now, am I?
It's good TV.
So our director is known for sort of giving us little surprises at the national final, and she told us that we were going to do a speech, and we hadn't really prepared one. So when I went on stage, I thought, this crowd looks like they're about to fall asleep, so I'm going to wake them up. And I asked them how they were, and they did that typical kind of like, oh yeah, she's talking to us. But I said, no, how are you? I want to hear you. And I did this sort of crowd, sort of crowd involvement speech. And then as soon as I walked off, I turned to one of the other contestants, Hayley, who competes now in Miss Scuba. I said, what did I just do? Like, is everything okay? Like, I just drew a blank. I didn't know what I said or if it was actually any good. But my mother, who was in the audience, went, and I thought, oh, okay, I need to rein it in, because I get very, very passionate. And as you can see, I gesticulate quite a lot when it comes to environmental issues. And yeah, I just got very passionate very quickly. And I could not remember what I said when I got off stage. But I heard that
It's
it was
normally
okay.
not a good sign. I feel like I want to go back and watch a recording of it, if one exists somewhere, just so I can see what I missed out on.
Yeah, you could ask who was there. I think Romy was there. Romy Simpkins was there, so maybe she has it. And Grace Levy was there, so maybe
Right.
she has something. But
Right. Do my homework then. I feel sorry for the person who has to go on after that. It's like in public speaking, one of the rules is you never want to be the first speaker after lunch, because everyone's eaten way too much and has fallen asleep. But the other thing is you don't want to go on after a speaker who's riled up the crowd and they've all gone crazy, and then to be the person after that, you're the anticlimax. So I feel sorry for Hayley.
Well, at least I was remembered, I think.
Even though you don't remember what for, because you don't remember what you said, but...
No, because when I spoke to people afterwards, I said, oh, I saw you at Miss Earth, and they went, we know you did the speech. And I went, yes, I did the speech. That was me.
Maybe you really should be on Jerry Springer. It does sound like a match made in heaven.
As a co-host.
Zanny,
yeah. Not as a interviewee.
Of course. Zanny has asked, which county of England are you in, Lauri?
Oh, so I'm in Buckinghamshire, which is actually known also for J.R. Tolkien, who wrote The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he based the Shires on Buckinghamshire. So yeah, I literally live in the Shires.
Are people there shorter than usual and slightly hairier?
I don't know why I checked my own feet.
It was a joke, Lauri. I wasn't actually. I'd be really worried if you go, actually, now that you mention it.
Why did I check my own feet? I can't believe I said that.
Maybe you really should be on Jerry Springer. Oh dear.
I'm trying to pull off that I'm a classy Kate Middleton British lady, and this is what happens.
So that you've always got to worry about the quiet ones.
Quiet ones.
You got a comment here from Charlotte Louise White, said, oh, I love Lauri. She is such a sweetheart.
Yes, I started pageants with Charlotte. We were both in Miss Hertfordshire together. So yeah, we both started together, and it's been absolutely phenomenal watching her grow and also compete in Universe. When I first saw her compete in Universe, Charlotte, correct me if I'm wrong, if it was three years ago, and you've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now, Charlotte. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, she's been phenomenal in Universe. I don't know how she does it. She's spectacular. But yeah, we started together, so it's been really nice seeing each other grow within the industry.
Lovely. Okay, just before we go to the final 10, I remember I looked up on your Facebook page or your profile the other day, you mentioned that you were going to be, was it traveling somewhere? I just wanted to check in about that, because I think that do you want to tell us the story behind that? Yes,
so usually I would go away during the summer holidays. Me and my mum, we love going to Italy, but since that has been off the cards, I thought it would be a good idea to actually explore the UK and the UK's ecological sites, because if I'm hopefully representing the country, I should do a little bit more research and actually look into building more content and going to places that I've never seen. because it's always typical that you go to other countries to explore other cultures, and then you end up
Don't do your own.
neglecting a little bit of your own. So I've decided to go up and down the country and go to places that have always been on the list, but I've never got around to the list. It's kind of like the stack of books that you have next to your bed, where you say, okay, I'm going to read those over the summer holidays, and then you never do. But I'm actually going to do it. So I was actually talking to Danielle about it yesterday, and we're going to go up to Edinburgh, up in Scotland. We're going to go to Jersey, which is one of the Channel Islands of the UK. It's supposed to be really, really beautiful there. And also go up to York and Manchester. And I've also asked a couple of pageant girls, if you know any good places to go, let me know, and I'll come and knock on your door probably.
When are you going, and how long are you planning on going for?
So because they're only like little sort of city breaks and little island breaks, I'm sort of going away for a couple of days, driving up there, and then coming back down, and then it's going to be a lot of mini trips. Because my little car is only a Ford Fiesta from 2003, so I can't do a grand tour as much as I would like to. But yeah.
Danielle's car is very small as well. I know I've been in it, and when she described it as a tin can, but hey, it works. So
it does. It does.
So that sounds good. Are you still looking for suggestions as to where to go in terms of ecological?
Yes, I am actually. So if there are any places that I should go to, then please let me know. I'm actually going to Cardiff this weekend. Never been to Cardiff. I've only been to Wales to drive through it in order to go to Ireland. So I should probably actually look at
Wales.
Yay! Sorry,
I've been to Wales just to drive through it to more interesting places. Actually, I spent a bit of time in Wales because my ex still lives in Wales, I think. And I keep forgetting the name of the forest, but there's a gigantic forest in the middle of Wales that you have to drive through to get to the west coast. I can't pronounce any of the names, and that probably is a site that's worth, even if I remember the names, I won't be able to pronounce them. But that might be an interesting place to visit. There were some very ancient forests. It was really amazing. I think you'll find some, given what you want to visit, I think you'll find some things in Wales that will definitely take your fancy. Now, Rachel has said, fun fact, Lauri, Charlotte, Louise, I've got two Charlottes in there. Fun fact, Lauri, Charlotte, and I were all in Miss Hertfordshire way back when. Is it really that long ago?
Yep, Rachel was there as well. Yes, she actually messaged me on Instagram and she said, I know your face, you're familiar. And I said, funny enough, so is your face. And she said, we took a picture together as part of Miss Hertfordshire, and I went, oh, that's you. And we've
It's always a bit worrying when someone messages you saying, I know your face. Like, what was I doing? Like, I'm sure it was. I'm just like, I know your face. Like, what have I done this time? She's also said, let me know if you come up to Newcastle, Lauri.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'll be passing through Newcastle. So, I shall be there.
Fun fact, Australia has basically stolen all the UK names. We have a Newcastle here as well. Basically we have a Cardiff here as well, now that I think about it as well. We've basically stolen all your names. The state to the north of me is literally called Queensland. Yes, we have a Perth. So it's like when I had Emma Collingridge over here, she's looking at all the names and finding it hilarious. It's because, we have that, we have that, we have that. It's like Australia stole all the names. Anyway.
If you have a
before we get,
let me know.
I'm sure. I haven't seen one, but I'm sure I can find one. Just before we get to the final 10, Laura, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to for supporting you along your journey, pageant and otherwise?
Oh, that's going to be a long list. Well, I've said thank you to Danielle, so I don't think I should do that again.
Don't talk about her anymore. Say her name 3 times and she shall appear.
I think I'd have to say quite a big thank you to the Miss Great Britain directors, who have been putting up with my nagging for a very long time. So Kate and Gemma, they're absolutely fabulous. I'm always the first to volunteer and be there. And massive, oh goodness, Abigail Hill as well. She has supported me through my Miss Earth journey, which has been the best part of a year now. Oh goodness, there are so many names and I need to try and remember all of them. Charlotte White, she helped me because I actually went for a Miss Universe GB interview 3 times, and I was unsuccessful 3 times. But of course I don't hold anything against Paula, who's the director. She just didn't see me as a universe girl, so you know, that's fine. I found my niche in Earth. Steph Wyatt is another lady I need to say thank you to, because even though I came 3rd to her last year, she's been very supportive this year and saying, I'm really glad that you're going to come back. I can't think of anyone else right now, but I'll probably do a massive list later once I've had a good think.
I always tell my interviewees that you probably should just say you all know who you are, because that covers everyone.
Why did you tell me that afterwards?
I like to give people enough rope to hang themselves before just see, because it's always like you always forget someone when you're put on the spot like that. So I've learned it's just best to say, you know, friends, family, loved ones, you all know who you are. Thank you so much, and also takes less time. But there you go. I'm sure you've got some of them and forgotten others. That's always the way it goes.
Well, they know who they are.
You know how to answer that question next time. All right, your turn for the final 10. As I told Danielle when second time I interviewed her, it's not a speed round. First time round, she thought it was a speed round. Oh. But anyway, you can take your time. Number 1, what is your favorite word?
Oh, positivity. Because I say it every day in terms of my teaching. We have what is known as a growth mindset. So we always have this motto of you can't do it yet. So you may not be able to do all of your multiplications in the first go. You may not win a pageant on your first go, but if you keep going and you keep that growth mindset at heart, then you can keep going and you will eventually become successful. So yeah, positivity is the biggest word for me. That I think, yeah, that's my favorite word.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist. That's the word that comes to mind, because I keep saying it during Bake Off and I really can't stand it. It just makes me sort of curl up, and I don't like it. It just reminds me of muddy water or something that you step in by accident. That's really horrible because it makes that very moist sound. I'm going to stop saying moist. It's making me uncomfortable.
Is there another word that you can use to describe, like a cake or a muffin or something, apart from, I mean, you don't want to call it damp or wet.
Light and fluffy.
But moist is that it's not dry, so you need something that's the opposite of dry. You don't want to describe your cake as wet, though.
No, but it's got a good texture to it.
I can literally see you squirming. It's hilarious. You're so uncomfortable, even the concept of moist.
It's like brown sauce for Lauren, okay? It just doesn't sit well.
There's a lot of things in the UK that you guys eat I still don't understand. A lot of sauces, brown sauce, gravy sauce, I don't understand. Anyway, I don't want to get into trouble, so we'll move on. Question 3. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
A challenge. I've always tried my best in life. You know, I may not lead a high-flying life that I attempted a few years ago, but I certainly want to lead a meaningful one. So I always love to try something new. Even when the gyms closed here during lockdown, I thought, right, okay, what can I actually do to get around this? And I actually woke up from a nap and decided to go and run 5K, and I did it. And then I thought, if I could do
never happened in my life. I have never woken up from my nap and gone, you know what I need to do now is run 5Ks.
I think I'm just wired differently, because as soon as I did a 5K, I got bored and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to do a 10K, and I ended up doing a 10K every day for 14 days.
If you're bored of a 5K run, 10K is twice as bad.
But I wanted a new challenge, and I wanted to do something different. And I thought, if I can do a 5K, I can do a 10K. And then I signed up to do what is known as the Durrell Challenge. So it's a zoo on the island of Jersey, which raises a lot of money for conservation projects. So I thought, let's give myself another goal, and that's a 13K run. So I thought, well, it's just another 3K. So I did it, and then I had a 3 o'clock in the morning moment where I signed up for the London Marathon. So I'm waiting to hear back from that. And yeah, it's always something new with me that I just want to try.
Take Danielle with you. She loves running.
She loves running backwards, so she could do the marathon backwards.
Speaking of people who are wired differently, question 4: what turns you off?
Closed-mindedness. I don't like people not just giving it a go, because people saying, no, I can't do that, because you never know what you're going to experience. I mean, I've had some really not negative experiences, but there have been experiences in the pageant industry where I haven't placed, and sometimes year after year, I think 2 or 3 years running, I didn't place in a pageant. And I thought, if I gave up there and then I wouldn't have met the people that I know today, who are really fabulous ladies. And I think if I kept my mind closed off, I never would have met them, and I never would have had the really positive experiences that I had. And I think it's a massive thing where people just need to be a little bit more open-minded when they approach life generally, even if it's just going out for a walk, or just trying something new that they wouldn't do every day.
Yep, definitely. Question 5: what sound or noise do you love?
Laughter. I always said in my teacher training interviews, and even in my final interview where I have my job now, is if I haven't made a child laugh or smile, I have done my job wrong for the day. And it's a massive thing with me, that I don't mind making an absolute fool out of myself if it makes someone feel better, because most of the time a smile or laughter makes someone else's day, because you don't know what kind of day that they've had. And even if I go down to, I don't know, the supermarket, and I've just given them a smile, they smile back, that might have been the only thing that they had that day. So I try to aim to do something like that every day. And yeah, I love laughter. I love making people laugh. I may not be a stand-up comic, but it's something that's crazy. It's weirdly addictive.
I mean, just when I asked you about people in the Shire being shorter and hairy, and you looked at your feet, I mean, that made me laugh. I don't think I'm going to be forgetting that anytime soon. I don't think you meant to do that, but it certainly gave me a laugh.
Well, there we go. And I bet it's now going to be a meme on Instagram now, me just looking down at my feet, wondering if they're hairy. So
it will be a clip. I can promise you that much. You can look forward to that being a clip. Question 6: what sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, I actually don't like this. I don't like loud music coming through walls. I mean, I don't mind going into a place where loud music is going to happen, like a festival or a club or a bar. Like I'm prepared for that. But when it invades privacy, that's when I think, right, okay, no, that's That's not right. And I got it a lot at university because, you know, university life, that's what happens. Yeah. And I hate telling people off as well when they're an adult. Saying to people, I'm really sorry, but can you please turn it down? Like, I'm not being nasty. It's just a thing that I have. I actually offered to bake somebody bread to make them stop because I knew that they really liked sourdough bread. So I thought it would be a really good exchange and it would avoid any confrontation.
So you bribed them?
You're making it sound awful. I was just trying to be nice.
Question 7. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Super strength so I can open jam jars. Because I have...
That is aiming very low, but okay, go.
It's true, because I must admit, I am really, even though gyms are open at the moment, I don't really want to venture out because I haven't been open long. But I am very much a weights gal, and I've always wanted to lift heavier weights, so that's another reason. But also, it's really silly because I bought myself a really expensive strawberry jam that I was really looking forward to having. It's a British thing. When you have it on scones, it's a thing. And I tried to open it, and it's been 6 months now, and I haven't opened it yet.
Have you tried anything? Because there are tricks to get jars open.
Yes, I've tried the elastic band trick. I've tried putting boiling water on the lid. I've tried patting the bottom of the jam jar. It's just...
The boiling water one does work. If you sit it in boiling water, the air expands, and the reason that your jar won't open is because the vacuum seal is too tight. Okay. So sit it in boiling water for a couple of minutes or 5 minutes, and then you should be able to open it. And use the elastic band trick as well at the same time if you have. But I promise you that will get it open. Failing that, just throw it on the floor, smash it, and don't eat the glass.
Okay. Okay, I'll try my best.
Month and you haven't been able to open it, so you might as well get it somehow.
Might as well just smash it.
Why not? Question 8. What job or occupation other than your own would you most like to attempt?
RAF pilot. I really, really wanted that job. I actually went in for the Royal Air Force, and it was just another way of representing my country and serving humanity, if you like. And I thought it would be a really noble career to go into. And I went in for what is known for the aptitude test, and which meant I was sat there at a computer for 7 hours, and it was equivalent to a flight simulation. And the first time I did it, there was actually a power cut at the RAF base, and that was not known as a priority on an RAF base, funnily enough. And so I had to go back and retake it. And unfortunately, when I was they tell you your results after the 7 hours. And right there and then, the recruitment officer said, look, you are 23 years old. Most people come in when they're 18. Looking at your results, I don't think they'll get any better if you came back next year. So you can either take another role inside the RAF, which doesn't require this aptitude test, or you can go to the army. We'll give you a recommendation, which was really, really nice of them. However, most roles within the RAF require that aptitude test. So I couldn't really go for anything else that I liked the look of. And then I went in for the army as well. But at that time, they were only looking for reserves, which means you only go in for X amount of hours. And by then I was in teacher training, so I didn't have the time requirement that they were asking for. So yeah, I really desperately wanted to be a pilot because I really liked Tom Cruise in Top Gun as well. So I wanted to be Top Gun, basically.
So the deep and meaningful reasons at the end of it, it's because I wanted to be like Tom Cruise. I wanted to meet Tom Cruise. Actually, he is a genuine, he does actually fly, Tom Cruise. He's one of those people who...
He does. But yeah,
in the
I also
latest Mission Impossible, the one that had also Henry Cavill in it, the Superman guy, Tom Cruise was actually flying that helicopter,
he was,
which is crazy because the two of them were right next, like behind one another, and Henry Cavill was in the second one leaning out the door, and he just caught himself thinking, if I die, it's basically because I got killed by Tom Cruise. So he thought that's a neat way of going out.
You can live with being killed by Tom Cruise.
He wouldn't be able to live with, he'd be dead, but I guess in terms of ways to go, it's probably up there. You'd certainly be remembered. Question 9, what job or occupation would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh, I wouldn't like to work in a morgue. That
Funnily enough.
Yes. that terrifies me. Although I did know a pathologist. She was one of the parents, and she was an excellent and very, very smart lady. And I said, look, I genuinely couldn't do what you do, and I don't know how you do it. And she said, it's just one of those things that you either have the stomach for or you don't. And she said, in some cases, my patients don't have a stomach. And I was like, oh, okay, you didn't have to describe it. But yeah, I would not be able to navigate.
You can run with that line of jokes. Didn't have the stomach for it. Didn't have the heart. Just wasn't in it. Doesn't have any brains. Just wow. There's a lot of jokes you can make as a mortician. I didn't realize that. Anyway,
she was full of jokes, and I thought this is on so many levels of wrong, but it's really funny.
Dear me. Final question. Yeah. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Thank you for believing, because I'm not deeply religious, but it would be nice to know that someone is there who's got your back. And that's what I like to think generally. If God was anybody, he'd be the one person who has your back generally. So yeah.
You certainly hope so, wouldn't you? Especially in these crazy times. Well, Lauri, that is about it. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Glad to be back. I was glad to be invited back, actually, after the fish finger sandwich suggestion.
There are many things. There are many things I've blacked out from my memory after all the interviews and podcasts that I've done. There's just so many things I hear and I go, nope, taking that out of my brain and just putting it over there.
So
post-traumatic stress. No, I don't. It's no, not yet. At some point, I won't. So I don't know. Maybe one day. But Lauri, I'll keep you on the line for just a sec whilst I hang up with the audience. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, whether it's live or on the replay. And we will speak to you again very soon.
Hey guys, it's Adrian again. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And remember to head over to pageantlaunch.com and join the launch team for our pageant review site. All you need to do is put in your email address. Thanks, and speak to you next time.